I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I want to talk to y'all about my writing database. This is something that I reference in a lot of my videos, in all of my author interviews, and just all over the place in general. Some of you may be wondering, what exactly is a writing database? Let me all break it down for you. So, as I always begin with, I want to make sure that people do not compare themselves to me as writers, because I live on a completely different plane of existence when it comes to writing. I know this is about to sound very do-to-do of me and everything. Here's the factual reasons why, is that I was raised in a family where the arts were considered very important. Most specifically, writing. My mother is a writer. Women before her were also writers in our family. So when I started to show talent for storytelling, literally at the wee age of 3, it was encouraged. And it snowballed from there. I literally spent my childhood writing little stories. My parents gave me hand-me-down computers because my dad was a businessman where he actually got to work from home and had a home computer. And this was back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And when they would get decommissioned, he would give them to me to be able to play with. And we're talking, y'all, these were such simple computers compared to the computers of today. It was MS Paint and Word. That was pretty much what these computers had on them, and that was kind of it. So I spent all day typing away on my decommissioned computers, all these cute little stories, and my dad would let me print them out, and my mom would actually redline them for me. And of course, she kept in mind the fact that, I was 5, 7, 11 years old, whatever, but she didn't pull punches. She let me know, hey, this doesn't make any sense, or hey, why does your character do that, or, da-da-da. She was developing me as a storyteller from a very young age. She gave me things like Eats, Shoots, and Leaves and Strunk and White. She gave me all of the classics growing up, including her college Shakespeare textbook. So all of that from day one. And then on top of it, I also went to Columbia College Chicago for fiction writing. And this was back in the golden era of the college when I had access to all of these amazing teachers, where it was a requirement that if they were going to teach fiction writing, they had to be actively working on their own writing and actively publishing books. So they could impart their wisdom, not just about writing to us, but about the business and how to get published and how to manage yourself as a professional author. So I learned all of that. And then after all of that, I also had access to the local Chicago writing community, where I got to interact with all of these other writers. And I got to get all this information about publishing and workshopping my pieces. And I also got opportunities. And that's how I got my first novel published, was getting all these amazing opportunities to be able to cut through a lot of red tape and get to publishers because of all this. So because of all of that experience, I'm already operating at a completely different level than most people, is that most people start off here and I'm already up here, just with the amount of experience that I have been given from my parents and my schooling and all of that. Then there's the separate part of my just sheer raw talent. The fact that I started writing when I was 3. I started writing novels by the time I was 12. I was writing at a professional capacity publishing works when I was about 23, 24. That is bonkers, y'all. That is just so not the norm. And the fact that all I wanted to do whenever I came home from school, and also, I did it during school too, even though I wasn't supposed to, but I did it anyway. I just wanted to write. That's all I wanted to do, was I just wanted to write and work on my stories. I oftentimes got punished where I wasn't allowed to work on my stories until I did my homework. That was how I grew up. And so over the course of this lifetime, my body of work is so massive that several years ago, I had to build what I call my writing database. What this is it is a literal database of all of my different writing projects, where I have categorized all of them with, is it a short story? Is it a poem? Is it a novel? Is it a series? What is the intention of this piece? Where am I going with it? And all of them are anywhere from just a handful of notes to 50 to 75% fully completed project, all sitting in this database. Novels and novellas and children's stories, basically anything that's going to be a book, I have, as of today, 98 projects. That is more than I can probably actually finish in my lifetime, as much as that pains me to say. But realistically, yeah, that is more than I can probably accomplish in my lifetime. I have that many writing projects for books. That's just books. I now also have over 400 poems in my database. Many of them have been published, but I am still working on more. And that's another project that I hope to complete in 2024, but my poetry is a thing that cannot be rushed. And so once I have enough new poems together, I will be releasing my 8th poetry collection, but that all depends on being inspired and having the time to create those and put them together and everything. But just to give you an idea of just the sheer volume of work here. And these are viable projects. That is the other thing that I want to make clear here, is that all of these projects that are in my database, the over 400, over 298, are all viable projects. They are all projects that I have looked at and I'm like, yes, this is an item that I have the intent of publishing this. There are so many more that are in, I call it my graveyard, that I'm like, this was fun to work on, this served its purpose, but for insert reason here, this is not something we're going to release to the world. This is not something that is ever going to see the light of day. And that graveyard is full too, y'all. So many failed novels, so many failed short stories, so many failed poems. And when I say failed, because this is a thing that hurts my heart whenever I see people talking about it in the writing community, and also in the art community too. A lot of people do that with their paintings and drawings and stuff. There's no such thing as a failed work. You didn't fail so much as it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but I'm sure you learned a lot while you were doing it. And each piece that you work on, whether it's success or failure, helps you get that much closer to being better at your craft and making your future projects even better successes. So I do look at my graveyard time to time to remind myself of how far I've come as an author, how much better my writing is today, and just, wow, these things helped me to learn these lessons so that I don't keep repeating the same nonsense and I can grow and be even more successful. Yeah, this database is just absolutely massive. And that's also how I'm able to get so much completed and published in the, I'm going to use the word short amount of time loosely, because in terms of the writing world, it is a short amount of time, but in terms of like normal reality, it's a long time. Books take a long time to write and publish and all of that. But how I'm able to go at the pace that I am not starting from scratch every time. I am completing a project and then I'm going back to the database, which I also, during the lockdown for COVID, took the time to organize the whole database. I actually sat down with this massive database and was like, okay, what order do I actually want to work on and publish these books? And of course, that's not set in stone. I can reorganize that as I see fit, as I continue to grow and work as an author. But at the very least, it gives me an idea so it's not just a giant mess. And I do have an order of events of I want to publish this book and then publish that book and da-da-da-da-da down the list. So they are actually prioritized like that, where I don't even have to think if I don't want to. I finish publishing a book and then I go to the database and I go, okay, which one is next on the list? Perfect. Boom. Put on the work table. This is what we're doing. And it also gives me the comfort of, I know what I'm going to work on next and work on next and work on next. It takes all of that decision making away so that I don't have that stress while I'm working on these different projects and things. And so that I can better plan for the future of, okay, this is what's going to be next. I need to do X, Y, and Z to prepare for that. That is the entire purpose of the database. And the fact that this database is the work of a lifetime of writing. And my lifetime of writing is a lot, because in college alone, I was writing 600 pages of work per class per semester. I'll say that again. 600 pages per class per semester. And I typically had about, on average, 2 writing classes per semester, because the other ones I also had to take gen ed stuff like science, and I also had to take these other classes that were required at Columbia that I really didn't like. They were called critical reading and writing classes, where you had to like read books and then look at them from like the author perspective and stuff, which is important and great, and I learned a lot from those classes, but just I had some personal hangups about the way that they were set up at Columbia. That's a whole other issue to get into. But anyway, so that's on average about 1,200 pages a semester. And that was early on in my school days at Columbia. Once I got past where I didn't have to take CRW classes anymore and I had taken all my gen eds, I was taking 4 classes per semester of writing. So that's 600 times 4. That's, if I do my math correctly, 2,400 pages of work per semester. That is a lot of writing, y'all. And while yes, not all of it was viable writing, there was plenty that unfortunately today lives in my graveyard, but just the sheer volume of that and the amount of viable writing that it did yield is just crazy. That is the perspective that I want people to keep in mind when they're looking at my published works, when they come to conventions and see the table with all of the books, and when they see my social media feeds and see all the different things that I'm working on. I need you all to keep these things in mind, is that I am just operating on a completely different plane than the majority of authors that I see. And this is not just me saying this. This is also my teachers at Columbia said this. I got to the point where my senior year at Columbia, they didn't know what to do with me anymore because they had nothing left to teach me outside of the business aspects of being an author. And on top of it, I was actually becoming kind of a problem in classes in that I was discouraging other writers just by being there. They would look at my body of work and how much I was writing, and then look at their own body of work and how much they were writing, and they would get discouraged. I wasn't actively doing anything to discourage people. In fact, I was trying to encourage people. It's just, it's very hard. It's creativity dies via comparison is really what happens. Your motivation and your creativity will absolutely plummet when you start to compare your work to other people in that whole idea of, am I good enough? And too many people were doing that. And so I ended up having to take what they, deemed as independent study, but really it was just give me a space and give me credits for it so I could graduate. And I just hung out in my mentor Tina Jen's classroom and just went ham, just every week, just la la la, all the writing. And she just let me sit there and do it because she knew I wasn't going to be disruptive. And she made it a note to tell everyone, all of her students that were in the class, because they were there for a real class. I was not. I was just there to be babysat. She let them know, hey, I want you to pretend like she's not even here. Don't worry about what she's doing. She's on a different planet. It's not even a thing. Just she's invisible. Don't worry about it. So my teachers say this, that I operated on a completely different level. And then my mentor, Tina Jens, today continues to tell me that now working as a career author, I'm operating at a completely different level than most authors, not just in the Chicago community, but just period. And I will continue to operate like this because it's just who I am and what I was made for. And I try to explain this whenever possible, whenever these topics come up, because I don't want people to get discouraged and I don't want people's creativity to die via comparison. So it's also an important thing to remember is not just with me, but when looking at other authors' works, you don't necessarily know their story. You don't necessarily know all of the advantages that they had that you might not have had. And I had literally the most advantages. Think of me as a role-playing character where all of my stats were maxed out by age 12. Okay? I'm just playing all the bonus rounds now, while everybody else is still trying to fill out their charts. Like, think of it in those terms, that's just the level that I've progressed to actually. So building this database is what has really streamlined my process now as a professional author, and being able to get my works out, being able to have a cohesive branding plan, and being able to put together marketing plans that make sense. I highly recommend doing this for your own work. It does take time to sit down and organize all of your works like this and make these kind of decisions, especially with prioritization. It is so worth it. that once you sit down and do this, you really don't have to do it again unless you want to take stock and reevaluate and all that. But it's pretty much set it and forget it kind of thing, that once you get rolling with this, then you're able to go to the database and just be like, what's the next project? Ah, this one, great, on the work table. It's so freeing. It takes away the stress of choice and decision making. And of course, it's not set in stone. And if the spirit moves you and you feel like, you know what, I really want to work on this project instead, then of course do that. Follow the dopamine, follow the motivation. But it just makes it so that you don't have to sit there looking at a giant menu of choices and thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know what to choose next, because that can be really overwhelming and kill your motivation to do anything. So I hope this has been helpful. If y'all like this video, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.